Let me get then to the third of these classic criticisms that have been leveled at us. And this one isn't about socialism and so forth. It's about the idea of worker co-ops, the idea that an individual, this is the way the criticism works, who invents a new product or a new idea or a new concept would have to share it, heaven forbid, with the employees as this individual inventor, let's call him or her, works out their invention into a product that we can all use. I broke through, I invented, why should I share my great invention with my employees who come on later to work in my enterprise but didn't participate in inventing? Wow, I find this extraordinary. Let's begin with what's wrong with this criticism. First, one thing to invent, another thing is to exploit workers. You don't need to exploit workers in order to invent. And you don't need to give an inventor the incentive of exploitation to get him or her to invent. This is a kind of bizarre argument. If what you're saying is we need to give an incentive to people to invent new products, new ideas, new technologies, I'm with you. Let's give them an award. Let's give them lots of public recognition. Let's give them some financial inducement. I'm okay with all of that. That's a way of encouraging people. No problem. But that doesn't require, nor does it justify, exploiting them later. Suppose I told you of a society in which, to give an incentive to investors, they were told, look, if you will just invent something, to invest then in it and build it up, we're so grateful we're going to give you 3 slaves for the rest of your life. We'd all gasp in horror. We don't need to do that. One doesn't require, and it certainly doesn't justify the other. Yes, we want innovative people, but we're not going to pay for it by going back on our commitment to abolish slavery. Wow. Let's give the inventor a reward, no problem. But that doesn't require that in the company that really makes the invention come alive and become real for us all, we have to allow one person to exploit, make money off the labor of others. You know, a decent investor wouldn't require, a decent inventor wouldn't ask it and wouldn't require it. A decent inventor knows they're helping society. They're making it possible for less labor to produce as much output as before. They're helping develop the community that nurtured them. They don't need to be in a position to be the employer who rips profit out of workers whose wages they keep down. Let me get at it another way. I hear often the argument, well, the businessman or woman is taking a risk. They're investing their money into this enterprise to start it, say, perhaps an inventor who came up with a new idea, and they're taking the risk, and so something is supposed to follow from that. They're going to be in charge. I always found this an offensive argument. Here's a reason. The workers who go to work for the person who starts a business, they're taking risks too. That worker didn't take another job to work in this one. That worker may have moved his or her family from one place to another, their kids out of one school to another. They are putting their lives into this company, into the community around this company. We don't pay them for that risk, do we? We pay them for the work they do, but not for the risk they took. If you want to reward the employer for the risk he or she takes, well, you're going to have to reward the workers also for the risk they take. But this is something the capitalist never wants to do. And you know, there is a difference. The one who takes the risk to start and own a company, he or she is the one making the decisions. The risk taken by the worker is much poorer You know why? Because they're taking a risk, but the decisions that will determine whether that risk pays off are not in their hands, are not under their control, because democracy doesn't exist in the workplace. The risk taken by the employer is a risk over which the employer has some control and decision making. The risk taken by the employee, they have none. And here's another way of looking at it. Many of the structures of capitalism are an incentive not to invest, not to invent. Let me give you just a few examples. You know many of them. Years ago, we learned how to make a light bulb that lasts forever. But the companies involved in making light bulbs didn't want that. And so there's an incentive in capitalism to block, to prevent invention. That has to be measured in here somewhere, too.